Husky Nation, welcome to Beyond the Bench, a weekly series where we sit down with each of our head coaches at Bloomsburg University to get thoughts about their program, themselves, and what it means to be a Husky. This week's episode is sponsored by Wagner's Trophies. We would like to thank them and the rest of our corporate sponsors for their continued support of Husky Athletics. I'm Dave Leisering, Sports Information Director here at Bloomsburg. Today's guest on our final episode of Beyond the Bench is the Director of Athletics here at Bloomsburg, Dr. Michael McFarland. Mike, thanks for joining me today as we put a bow on our weekly series and lead into 2021.
Dave, thanks for having me. And, sometimes they say we're saving the best for last. I think you saved me for last so you could ask me the hardest questions. That's what I really built up to.
This is going to be the 60 minutes version of Beyond the Bench.
If that's our goal, we can hit it.
So, Mike, before we dive into Husky Athletics, talk a little bit about your background and what led to your decision to come to Bloomsburg University to take over the athletic department.
Yeah, thanks. Great question, Dave. Lifelong in being involved in athletics, I really needed to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. In the old days, I remember sitting underneath the sheets in my bedroom, listening to a little AM transistor radio. And I said, gosh, I want to do sports radio. That's where it is. A lot of people said, you have the face for radio, you could pull it off. Well, that led me to my undergraduate degree, and I got into corporate communications in that, and playing and being a college athlete. I just got this itch and this desire to really make something and to work with the student athletes. So early in my career, bounced around between a few places. I like to tell people, if you want to work in sports, you go where the job is. The job doesn't come to you. And, so I had to move a lot in my early career and really kind of looked at each opportunity that I had, whether it be with the former National Soccer Coaches Association, whether it was with Western Illinois, West Virginia Wesleyan, Bucknell, you name it, the Patriot League, a lot of different stops on the way to get to Bloomsburg. And being in my 10th year here, I came in with a nice 3-year plan that I still think we're in year one every day. I jump back to it and say, boy, are we there yet? So we still have a lot ahead of us to get done to really satisfy what my goals are, which is really about developing that student athlete to the best that they can be. And, as I tell a lot of people, I have 2 of my own daughters, and I have 540 plus other children that are student athletes. So, it's a great opportunity that I had here, replacing a legend in Mary Gardner, who had been here for many years, and just having that opportunity to come home. My wife's born and raised in Bloomsburg. So it was really an opportunity to come home as a family, but to do and continue to do what I love, and that's work with the student athletes.
So let's dive into Husky Athletics now. 2020 has been a difficult year for everyone, but despite the pandemic, we've enjoyed a tremendous amount of success here in the athletic department. Let's touch a little bit on a few of those successes. Let's start with our Huskies in the classroom and the record-breaking year they had.
Oh, Dave, it's tremendous. I mean, I think back to that time in, February, March, when we're telling student athletes their seasons are over. Worst day of my life. And, when you're going through that and you're sitting in a room and you're telling young men and young women that they're done playing, for them to turn around and do the academic performance that they did, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It was amazing what our student athletes did and how they came to the call of really finishing everything and being able to do that. But kudos to our coaches too, because, again, we all changed. We all had to adjust to this new online learning style. It meant there weren't classroom checks as there used to be. There weren't other opportunities for our coaches to say, how are our student athletes doing, and walk down a hall and see them, because they weren't here, whether it was in our building, whether it was anywhere on campus. So, our academic success for our student athletes in the fall, in the spring, second to none. The fall, again, they're working so hard because they all still want to remain eligible for when they can get back on the field. And I think that's the key point is, they're not looking at this as wasted time. They're not looking at it as, oh gosh, I can't compete in my sport. They're looking at it as, I want to be ready. So when I do get the call to get out there and compete, I'm still going to be eligible to do that. And great work by them, every one of our student athletes. Sure, there's one or two who need a little extra help, but you're going to have that with any year. You're going to have that with anything. But to the work of our coaches, to the work of our campus, really, the faculty, every department has worked to do nothing more than really support those student athletes and the success they've been able to show.
Now talk a little bit about our diversity, equity, inclusion programming that has taken off, Protect Our Pack, and the 40-year plan in particular.
Well, Dave, two very good programs, and they kind of weave into each other. I'd be remiss if you look at our Protect Our Pack, we talk about the things that are important, supporting and ending racism, open to LGBTQA issues, inclusiveness. You look at just the overall bullying that can occur within a team, without a team, outside of a team, or anywhere. And this is really a student-led initiative, Dave. I met with a student athlete who really kind of planted this seed. And as we had the discussion, it was the coach, the student athlete, and me. And as we had this discussion, I said, there's so many ways that this could go. What if we incorporated all of them? And everybody got on board. And when we did this, we didn't end it there. We said, this is important. So we ran it to the coaches and said, do you have student athletes? Regardless of what their concerns are, here's what we're looking at. We're looking at these core issues, 4 or 5 different core issues that we can focus on to make them better individuals and to support our own teams, kind of protecting our pack, right? The Huskies helping Huskies. And the idea launched. We got student athletes involved. I want to say that we're probably over 60 now as far as in the group. And what's been really great is we've done educational things. We have a virtual march coming up. We're doing really neat things, all student led. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we signed on, thanks to some of our partners on campus, the Women's Resource Center, some of our Title IX offices. We've signed on with a game plan to really do some educational models with our student athletes. And in doing that, that was really brought to us by our student athletes. And Bryce Evans in particular brought me this idea. And I said, look, go find out more about it. This isn't my initiative. This is our initiative. This is everybody. It's about diversity. It's about equity. It's about inclusion. It's about openness and treating people the right way. So that being one little segment of it, really piggybacks on what we're trying to do athletically, which is the 40-year plan. And you can call it anything you want, as I tell our coaches. It really started with an initiative with our baseball program and some of the programming and educational stuff that Mike Collins started doing outside of what is your countable athletic related activity, your CARE activity. And we were able to then kind of frame and craft a program, his specifically, where now we could say this is transferable regardless of sport. And now it's not just about recruiting that student athlete. I always talk about our PASS program, pride, accountability, student athlete experience, and success on and off the field. And each piece of that element comes into this. And in your 40-year plan, you're really trying to develop that young man or young woman in more ways than what they do on the field. They wouldn't be here if they couldn't compete on the field, in the pool, on the court, you name it, on the track. They wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have recruited them because they're going to be an important part to our program. We have the academic program. They wouldn't be here if they didn't have the academic standards. So now what does a 40-year plan do? And again, depending on what your program is and how you call it, it takes them from the 4 or 5 years that we have with them and prepares them for that next step. And that's what it really does. So Protect Our Pack is inside that. Community service with NCAA and Make-A-Wish, that's inside that. All of those elements, David, are really the pieces to me that help frame what we're doing, which is developing and preparing our student athletes for that career readiness and that next step. And, we just have some really great programming, some really great collaborations on campus, in town, and really, truly, our coaches fighting for these type of things that excites our student athletes to help prepare them.
We couldn't do what we do without outside support. So let's talk a little bit about our philanthropic efforts, including Giving Tuesday, which happened earlier this month, and in particular our corporate partners as well.
Dave, there's so much to unwrap in that one. Gosh, I'm going to need to take a drink here in a minute. But no, Giving Tuesday was a tremendous success. Anytime you put a challenge in front of athletics, it doesn't matter, Dave. And many people have heard me say this. We could be walking down the hall to get to the front door. I'm going to beat you to the end of the hallway, right? That's how we live. That's our day to day. We're all competitive, and our competitive nature really stepped up. Whether you're an alum, a current coach, shoot, for that matter, we had student athletes giving, we had their families giving, alumni giving, all for Giving Tuesday, which under these times and under where people are is tremendous. It just shows what it means to truly be a Husky. So with the Giving Tuesday success, thank you to everyone. I put the challenge out. We had some athletics matching monies that we put on the table to say, look, let's raise this money and let's win this. A lot of people talk about, well, how did you do? Well, we won, and we're going to continue to win, and that's our goal. We couldn't do what we do without our corporate partners. Whether you're in town as a local business, and I'm not going to mention individual businesses because heaven forbid I miss someone off the top of my head, Dave. We have about 35 to probably 45 corporate sponsors who support us in everything we do. And we in turn want to support them in everything they're doing. Whether it's something as simple as sharing a menu on Facebook of what they're offering that week as a special or that day, to even going further into it and really talking about their business when you have an opportunity and making recommendations because somebody says, hey, do you know about this service in town? Can you help us out? And without our philanthropic, where would we be? Steph Pettit, love you, brother. I mean, what else can I say? You've been an amazing, amazing friend, but most importantly, supporter of your institution and our program. That's not to call anyone else out or not call anyone else out, but we have so many people in our athletic program. I could go on and on and on and name, probably have a list of 75 to 300 names, Dave, that I could just start reading off and you'd go, okay, you're going to stop yet. All of those individuals mean so much to what we do. And as I tell people, it's not about what you can do to support us. It's about what you do to support us. Whether it's philanthropic, whether it's your time, whether it's coming to a game, which hopefully we'll have soon. It's what is your effort, helping out, talking to a young man or a young woman about what their next step is. That's an athlete as far as getting them into law school or whatever it may be. Again, we couldn't do what we do without those individuals, corporately, philanthropically, those who've supported us in Giving Tuesday, whether you supported us in the past, want to support us in the future, or support us tomorrow. We can't thank you enough. And, again, I'll probably be making 15 phone calls at the end of this when it airs, Dave, saying, here, I didn't reference you by name, but you're one of the people who's important to us. And if I don't call you, you're important to us because you are. Again, we couldn't do it without all of that support. Our coaches are happy, but most importantly, our student athletes, the looks on their faces when we can say you're getting a scholarship and here's what it means. We have some really great ways of presenting scholarships. We have a walk-on scholarship, and the look and the surprise on those student athletes' face to the ones who are getting it because they're an All-American and thinking about it, they still have that same, oh my gosh, can I thank the person behind this? And we, if we're not saying thank you enough, we're not doing our job. So thank you to all of those individuals, whether, again, it's corporate, philanthropic, or other.
And finally, our Huskies do a great job on the field, in the classroom, but how about the community service efforts that they put forth and what our students accomplish off the field and out of the classroom in helping the Bloomsburg area?
Absolutely, Dave. Our student athletes, we end usually in the top 3 in the PSAC for community service hours. We have great young men and young women who are doing on average, 6,000 to 9,000 hours of community service a year. COVID cut us short, and I was like, wow, we still did over 6,000 hours, and we were cut short almost an entire semester. So I would have been really pleased to see what we did in the 1920 season. This year will be a lot lower than that, but we still had individuals from teams, whether it's coaches, athletic staff or even student athletes going out and doing community service this past fall. But it's really a testament to, again, going back to the 40-year plan, going back to what's important, about going back to being able to give back and to support all things that we can do. Dave, it's so neat to be, still seeing people in town. I remember when I got here and the tragedy of the 2011 flood, and to be able to drive through town and still stop at people's houses who we've helped during those flood efforts, and to see them and say, oh gosh, I'm still coming to games. That's the kind of impact we want to make. Our student athletes are here. Most of them, are regionally based. Some are born and raised here in town and some aren't. But to even be able to get out like the toy drive that we have going on right now in partnership with Agape and the football program, to see that these young men and young women are coming into a community and making it and calling it their home. It's going to be their home after they graduate from here, because this is where they're really making an impact. And for that, the NCAA's slogan of make it yours, right? They're making it theirs while they're here. And in doing that, it really, really shows what our student athletes and the good work they can do, classroom, athletics, community, and really creating that sense of pride.
So, Mike, the $1 million question right now, or one of them, is when our student athletes can return to competition. We know the PSAC canceled fall and winter sports and championships, with the exception of men's and women's cross country and men's and women's swimming, which will hold their championships hopefully sometime in the spring. Are there any further updates from the PSAC or the NCAA regarding what the spring of 2021 may look like?
Thanks, Dave. I got to go now.
You're stunt coming in now. Is that happening?
So, that's the $1 million question. And don't get me wrong, I would love nothing more than our student athletes competing today, right? Every decision we've made, that our institution has made, and the conference has made for that matter, has been with the health and safety paramount, whether it's the student athletes, whether it's the coaches, whether it's the community. So what I can tell you as of this moment in time, right? So put a little stamp and time date on it, because it might be different by the time we get done talking. Our plan right now is for our spring sports to be competing, and to be competing within the NCAA's resocialization guidelines, which means return to play protocols, which means testing. And not only just some sports will have to test as many as 3 times a week. Some will be tested once a week. But to be able to travel, to be able to compete, to be able to play, that's going to be our goal, to do it safely. Obviously, if there's a blip in there and we have to pause an activity, then you go through all those protocols and how does it delay and what does it do. So right now, baseball, softball, lacrosse, tennis, women's golf, track and field. I think that's everybody off the top of my head, Davey.
Sounds right.
Name them all. But all of those sports will be competing not only for a PSAC championship, but for an NCAA championship. And our goal, too, is to have our PSAC championships in cross country, because that is what the NCAA is calling a low transmission risk sport, as well as in swimming. And with swimming, again, our hope is, because of the way the championship's going to fall, we may even have young men and young women who qualify, depending on what we can do competitively, for the NCAA championship. So we're really excited about this in the fall and this, or pardon me, in the for the spring season. Hold your hat though, because we're also putting together a great plan. We have our medical staff. We're partnered with Geisinger for our medical team doctors, looking at things from a return to play protocol. We're looking at things on our campus with our health and wellness group to really make sure that what we do is proper and right within lines of the guidelines. And in doing that, our goal is to have our fall sports and our winter sports at minimum to be able to practice per NCAA rules so that they can get better and continue to develop. The NCAA has already previously granted an extra year of eligibility for all fall and winter sport athletes. And that said, this means now whether a young man or a young woman chooses to come back for another year, that's going to be obviously what's right for them. But it gives them the ability to say, I can focus on my academics. I can get that bucket crossed. I can focus on making sure we can compete safely and get that bucket crossed. And then for some of them, like we had thanks to some of the generous support of many of our fans, might be able to finish what they started, whether it's complete and go on into graduate school or at least complete their athletic eligibility within, again, the rules of the NCAA, but to really provide them that opportunity to either gain further education and compete for their final year at Bloomsburg, or to complete their, their undergraduate education and still compete. So we're really excited today that this is our plan. We're in the process of finalizing contracts, dotting I's, crossing T's to make it happen. The university has been a great partner in pulling this off so far. And I don't see that changing. I see it as what is going to change in the outside landscape, Dave, and the things we can't control, right? We went through the fall with some athletic activity within the rules of the NCAA. We were able to pull it off. Some little blips here and there, as you're going to have, as with anything. A student athlete may get the flu, just the general flu, not COVID, but we still have to be cautious and say, okay, hold on, let's take a break. Somebody may, a little cough here, a little sneeze there, makes everybody's head turn a little bit more. Now, we're being extra safe with that because when it goes through a team, it's going to go through the entire team. And that's what we're trying to be able to avoid, because they still need to be students and they still need to get the academic stuff done, because that's one of the true reasons why they're here as a student athlete. So hopefully that answers your question, Dave. We're excited. We want to play. A little side note, I called my wife on the porch. This was about a month ago, about 8:30 at night. And for those who are sports nerds like myself, you'll get this. Thunderstorm came in, lightning everywhere. I called her out, Carrie, come outside, come outside. Standing on the porch, I'm like, lightning, look at this. Isn't this great? She walks back inside. In my mind, I'm going, boy, I'd love to walk out on the field right now to tell an official, sorry, we have to stop this game right now because of lightning, right? Those are the things that are out there in my mind of, we want to get out there. We want it to be safe. So we're going to do it, and we're approaching it the right way, I feel. I think we got a great plan in place. We've got great people implementing the plan, and hopefully we'll be out there with no lightning delays so that we can continue to play for the right reasons.
So if you didn't bring your stunt double in for that question, you definitely might want to bring him in for this one, I guess.
Oh, goodness. I need a drink here, Dave. It is, my water bottle might need to be refilled at the end of this.
Another hot topic at Bloomsburg University right now is integration. Bloomsburg, Lock Haven, and Mansfield are scheduled to integrate in some fashion beginning fall of 22, with 3 more schools out west, Cal, Clarion, Edinburgh, going through the same process. Without getting into the weeds, so to speak, are there any updates regarding integration, and how is that process going?
Dave, I will tell you, I've collected more data. The coaches have collected more data than I thought was humanly possible. I used to think that I had a pretty good, had my thumb on a lot of things. Still do. But now when you hear, oh, wow, yeah, I forgot about that one. Oh, what a great point. What a great thing. What I'll tell you is, the integration elements I'm on board with. It makes sense, right? We need to be doing things in a better way. You'll never hear me say, boy, we don't need to improve in the way we do things, right? Why would we even play a game? Why would we practice if we didn't want to do that? So I'm all on board. The interesting piece with athletics is, we do work so hard. Our student athletes graduate at a higher rate than the general student body. We have higher grade point averages across the board. We retain better. Why? We've got the built-in love, is what I call it, right? We have that coach who not only recruits you from the day you decide to choose Bloomsburg as your school, but that coach will work with that young man or young woman, making sure they're going to class, making sure they feel okay today. Why are they off in practice? Why are they off in a game? What's going on with them? All the way through, right? And then when he or she graduates and they look back and go, boy, coach was hard on me. The coach was hard on me, and look where I am now, right? That's what we can bring to the table. As integration goes, until we can really determine and get a focus as to what does it truly mean for athletics, we can tell you all of the data points, all of the positive things of what being a student athlete is. I talked to an alum the other day, and they basically said to me, who do you have that's ready to be hired? Because we want athletes. That's some of the things that we bring to the table. So I don't see integration as a fully bad thing. I know that there's a lot of elements to it that are scary, downright scary, Dave. But as with any kind of change, it's all going to be scary. As my best stunt double would say, hang on for the ride on this one, because, I know that, we have great leadership that is leading us. Dr. Hannah, in this case, for the Northeast integration team, different individuals on our campus leading different areas. Without getting in the weeds and trying to stay all the way up here, we're still in that data collection phase. We're still in the phase of saying, what do we bring to the table and how important is athletics to the institution? And when I say the institution, is that Bloomsburg specific, Lock Haven, Mansfield, a new you, if you will, or all three of us. So a lot more to come. If you would have asked me integration questions last spring, I would have said, hold on, we've got COVID to worry about. COVID's taken the back seat, not in a way of, gosh, it's out of sight, out of mind, but the integration, and I know you're on a committee or two as well, Dave. It's time consuming, but it's important work to help frame where we're going and the direction we'll be going and what we're facing.
So Bloomsburg has a tremendous fan base. Numerous families, friends, alums follow the Huskies consistently and are heavily involved within the athletic department. What would you say right now is the state of Bloomsburg University athletics?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question too, isn't it, Dave? So right now, I would say plain and simple, we're in a great spot. We're in a great spot academically, most importantly. We're in a great spot athletically, other than we're not competing, right? We're going to fix that. And by fix that, I don't mean we did something wrong or it's broken. I meant we've been waiting. I mean, last Tuesday, we received new guidance from the NCAA, which changed some of those policies. It changed it for the better. So I think that right now, based off of where we are athletically, I cannot wait to see our student athletes on the field. Plain and simple. On the field, in the pool, on the court, on the track, you name it. I might even go run a cross-country race with our young men and young women just because it's something to do.
All right.
And for those who know me, that probably would not end well. But no, honestly, Dave, we can't do what we do without the support that we get. I mentioned Steph Pettit earlier. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him again. Not only does he lead by the example, but he truly shows what it's like to be a Bloomsburg Husky. It's not just about your sport or your affinity item. It's about the program as a whole and believing in the program. I believe in Bloomsburg athletics. I believe in our coaches. I most definitely believe in our student athletes who are performing right now in the classroom. And I know that we're in a great spot because if they can still show and perform when they've had to make adjustments, kind of like in a game, right? Something's not working, I need to make an adjustment. We went from learning, which was normally in the classroom, to online learning. They made their adjustments. That success of our student athletes just shows how great we're going to be in the future. When we come out of this COVID mess, when we come out of the integration changes, we're going to be stronger, more solid, and better. And to our friends, families, alumni out there, gosh, all I can say is thank you. And, we couldn't do what we do without you. And we hope that you can continue to support us, as we would love to be in that spot to continue to make you as proud as we are, at least me from my chair, of our student athletes today.
Couldn't have said any better.
Say, hey, I believe it. That's the great point. I truly believe that where we are. So,
are you done sweating now?
I'm going to need a break, about 5-10 minutes, and then I'll be good. So, yeah.
So, Mike, as we've done with every coach during their interviews, we've just had a little fun to kind of wind down a little bit and kind of get to know you, the person, a little bit. I know the answers to most of these questions, but I think the people viewing may not know. So, your favorite sports teams?
Oh, wow. Boy, I'll list them all for you, Dave.
Oh, great.
I
can't wait.
Well, and I know some of them you're going to love. Obviously, when you look at the English Premier League, I'll start with that. Knowing my soccer background is Man City, both the men's and the women's team. Love watching them. You come into my house on any Saturday, Sunday morning. Actually, there's a game getting ready to start any minute. I'll probably have a game on. With Major League Soccer, FC Dallas. It's been a long time team of mine since the league was founded, and probably for the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, it would be the North Carolina Courage. Really love what they do on the field. Being a true sports nerd, Dave, whether it's a player, like I followed the Chicago Cubs for a while due to a player. But I grew up in St. Louis, so you could say that I'm a Cardinals fan. Good and well, Dave, for the first time in my life, one of my daughters and I were out in St. Louis visiting family during the Stanley Cup playoffs to watch the Blues do what they did. Thankfully, we did not get a ticket to the game the night we were there because the Blues did lose very poorly in that game. But the St. Louis Blues, and it's very tough to watch these out-of-town teams a lot of times. And for all those different viewing packages, I'm here for games a lot at our campus, so I would miss them anyway. So catch up a lot that way. My NFL team, I apologize to those people in the state of Pennsylvania, but I'm a longtime Minnesota Vikings fan and have been for a long, long time. And people always ask even about the soccer with Man City. Oh, it's just because they dumped all this money in. And I'll look at them and go, yeah, I liked them before there was money in the program, right? And in the team. When you look at the NBA and the WNBA, believe it or not, I loved Bill Laimbeer and the Detroit Pistons. Chuck Daly as the coach before there was ever even the Bloomsburg connection of Chuck Daly, right? I haven't watched the NBA as much lately. Some of it due to COVID and just the time that they're getting ready to start. The Minnesota Lynx, again, have to stay with the Minnesota team there in the WNBA. So I think I covered pretty much about most, if not all of my sports teams, Dave, and I know that you're going to become a fan of every one of those teams soon.
Oh, absolutely. How'd the Blues do against the Canucks this year, by the way?
It was a COVID shortened season, Dave, as you know. So yeah, we'll be back. Of course, now they're changing for this year, they're changing the divisions around. And right. You've got the rivalry of the Blackhawks Blues, right? And that's not even going to be on the table anymore. So now I guess it's a rivalry between Las Vegas and St. Louis. I don't know. We'll have to see. But, it's going to be an interesting season, as all these seasons have been due to COVID. But, we're just thankful that there's still sports going on.
So we mentioned your teams, your long list of teams. How about your favorite athletes?
Well, obviously Pele, world's best. Had an opportunity when I worked for the National Soccer Coaches Association to spend time with him twice, not once, but twice. One time for just a photo shoot and another time to host him at a convention. Had some great individuals around me, but to be able to just hang out with him. At one point, he was the most photographed man in the world, above and ahead of the Pope. And I thought, boy, there's probably pictures of me that I don't even know about that are with him as we're walking down the hall together. Not that I was the most photographed man in any way, shape, or form, but definitely him. And to be able to watch some of the things he did when he played was tremendous. But going back, I mean, the Purple People Eaters, who wouldn't have been a fan? Their motto, let's meet at the quarterback. I mean, give me a break. You got your two tackles, your two ends, all going to meet at the quarterback. So I would say that those main sports idols. But, I mentioned earlier my little white transistor radio that stood about this big, and I'd be listening to it thinking nobody could hear that I had it on. That's where I was. But Jack Buck, everybody knows about Joe Buck, right? That's his son. I remember Jack Buck when he called the Blues one season, right? But then he was a longtime St. Louis Cardinals announcer, and just hearing him call, and Dan Kelly, the Blues announcer for multiple years, 20 plus years. And just to be able to listen to those guys and get a different take on sports, right? You could always see the individual, the player on the field, on the court, the things that Billie Jean King did and some of these other people would do on the court or on the field. But then to hear someone describe it and paint that picture, that's really what got me as a kid growing up, was to be able to paint that picture as I'm watching it and see it. So that would probably cover some of them.
Favorite movie?
Oh, wow. I run the gamut, Dave. I probably have a favorite movie in every genre that there is. Caddyshack is a classic. It was on 2 nights ago. And I had to watch it just for a couple minutes just to, quote some of them. I mean, Uncle Buck is another one right now. It was on the other day, and watched that for a couple minutes. But really some sci-fi things, believe it or not, the ones that make you think and really kind of, challenge you to try and figure it out. The Matrix, something like that, maybe Fight Club, that really kind of take you and make you part of it. But I will tell you, one of my really fun things to do is watch the Shriek B horror movies, David, where they're just so bad you're laughing instead of being scared. Not the Friday the 13th of the Friday the 13th times. These are the ones where, the yelling is so bad it's off cue. It's kind of like if you think of that Geico TV commercial, where should we hide? Let's get in the running car. No, let's hide behind the chainsaws.
Right.
That kind of idea, just to sit back and have some humor, but also have some things that are there. And I love dragging my daughters into that world with me to watch. They'll watch about 15 minutes and then get up and leave.
Right.
Probably those B horror movies are really my relief valve, if you will.
I knew that was coming at some point. I knew it was coming. So.
Yeah, we've traveled together, Dave. If there's a B movie on, we're gonna find it.
I know, and I usually leave the room like your daughter. Favorite food?
Oh gosh, I'm probably gonna make a lot of people sick on this, but as a kid growing up, I used to always look forward to my mother's cooking, and she made the meanest tuna noodle casserole that there was. And I always looked forward to that. But I would say probably as I developed more of my palate, nothing beats a good steak, nothing at all. I would have to say, growing up in the Midwest, I'm meat and potatoes guy. So bring out the red meat, and I'll probably have as much of it as I can.
Good answer. I absolutely know the answer to this question. Your favorite band?
Come on, Dave, you don't know that. I mean, we've only traveled together how many times?
I mean, I know it, but nobody else knows it.
Oh, okay.
Probably nobody's heard of them.
Well, you might be right. No, back in the early 80s, I fell in love with a band called Marillion. They're still around today. They still are putting out albums. In fact, they have a new album coming out next year, 20 plus albums. My musical preference with them is, there's probably not a song I don't like by them, but I'll listen to anything, as you know, when we're on the road. But
I don't get to play my music when
we know, Dave, you really don't. We do have to keep it light.
You listen to everything.
Yeah, I listen to everything but yours. But no, it's really, I have some really eclectic tastes, so one minute I'll be listening to, somebody like Marillion, to the next minute be listening to, some alt country, rock, things of that nature, down to the blues, down to, jazz hits. In college, I worked at a jazz radio station, right? So, it does run the gamut, and I do like music. I keep it on as a distraction at a lot of times in the background. If nothing else, every once in a while, you'll hear a good toe tapping song as you walk by my office. So.
Sure.
All right, we'll have another music lesson later. Dave. We'll get you back. We'll get you back on board.
So if you could meet anyone, past or present, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh, what I wouldn't give for more time with some deceased family members. My mom. I didn't really have a chance to meet my father's father growing up. They tell me some great stories of, me throwing up on him as a baby, things along those lines, and I'd like to apologize for that. But I didn't really have a chance to meet some of those family members, and then again, any of them that have gone too soon, right? I think that would be important. But if I'm truly going to think about this and say, is there someone? Yeah, there's political leaders, there's celebrities, there's others. I think someone who would be really interesting to sit down and have a conversation with, especially all that is going on today, would be Jesse Owens, Dave. to really know what he went through and thought about, and I think it was 1936 in the Berlin Olympics, right? And to be able to go through that, which some of those things are still happening today, but to be able to cross those barriers then and say, what is it like and how and why and what could we be doing better? I think that would be something that I would really enjoy that, knowing what I want for our student athletes, what I want for our society, what I'd love to see. I think Jesse Owens would be on that list too.
That's a great answer. Great answer. Much better than the Marillion answer. I'm sorry. Oh, finally, Mike, last question. What is, if you could hammer down one thing, what's the best thing about Bloomsburg University?
Is this a one-word answer, or do I have some leeway here?
Well,
you're making it sound.
60 minutes version, so you still have 19 minutes.
Oh, gosh. Okay, then I have time. No, I would say, Dave, everything. Think of the everything bagel, right? There's something at Bloomsburg for everybody. I remember my first visit to Bloomsburg and being on campus and seeing it 20 plus years ago, to having the opportunity 10 years ago to walk in and be in the job that I'm in. I say this a lot to recruits, their parents. While we're a public institution, we have very much a private feel. To be able to walk across campus and see individuals that and have conversations, whether it's a faculty member, staff member, a student athlete, it really has a close to home feel and an opportunity to really say, gosh, this is Bloomsburg. We are different. We are unique. And to be able to do that and look at our campus as a whole, sure, athletics, that's a whole different ballgame, right? Well, we all know what that brings to us, and we all know what's out there with athletics, and those teams and what we love about each one of those teams. That's something unique and special too. But I think as a campus, everything about it is really, really solid. And the people here care, and they want to do the right things. They care about the facilities. I can't tell you how many times, Dave, I'm walking into the building and I'll see garbage and I'll stop and pick it up. Why? Not because it's the right thing to do, because it is, but because I want the next person who walks by not to see that. And I'm not the only person who does that on this campus. That's just one small example of what Bloomsburg means to all of us. I didn't go to school here, but I feel that, it's important enough to me to carry on that legacy and that tradition of what being a Husky is. Everything about Bloomsburg is great, fantastic. And the town, the academics, our partners, our alumni. And it's really a community, and I love everything about it.
Well, Mike, we really appreciate you joining us today and putting kind of a wrap on this Beyond the Bench series. And, you said save the best for last. You nailed it. So thank you. And we hope you and your family have a very happy new year. And hopefully 2021 will see us return to some kind of normalcy.
Absolutely. And everybody out there that's a Husky, be safe. But most importantly, thank you again. Thanks for all you do. You know who you are. You know that the minute I see you, I'm going to not only say thank you, but who knows, I may even give you a hug once we're able to again. We do what we do because we love it, and we want to continue to get better and see our student athletes be successful, and then have them become very successful alums. And, we're excited about what the future holds, and again, get through this holiday season safely, get into the spring, and let's get back out there and play some games and win some things and show you that how much we really have gotten better.
Well, happy holidays, Mike, and we'll see you in the office here real soon.
Thanks, Dave. Have a great day.
Dr. Michael McFarland, Director of Athletics here at Bloomsburg University. We'd like to thank once again Wagner's Trophies for sponsoring today's episode. For information on everything Huskies, visit our website at buhuskies.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm Dave Leisering. I'd like to thank Husky Nation for tuning in over these last few months to Beyond the Bench. We hope you enjoyed the series. Have a safe, healthy, and happy new year. And as always, go Huskies.